Here are the horoscopes for the week of the 16th to the 22nd of May 2016. We continue with the strong Earth trine energy, so to recap, that's Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, Virgo with Jupiter just turned direct, and Mercury retrograde in Taurus. So this has been a great harmonic, it's been a very strengthening and centering energy to provide us with a bit of solidity and to help us build on a strong foundation. So that trine comes to a crescendo this week, and we should be feeling a bit more solid, a bit more purposeful, and a bit more self-sufficient, even though there's the retrograde action which says we don't really know where we're going yet, we don't really have all the pieces of the puzzle. There's a great feeling of peace and centering with this Earth trine, and that is reaching its maximum point this week, so a great harmonic there. As I say, Mercury is still retrograde, so Mercury turns direct on the 23rd, that's next Monday, but we're still in a full week of Mercury retrograde in Taurus. Now this has been teaching us the connection between the mind and the heart, really. Mercury is how we process thought, and often during a Mercury retrograde we can process things differently, or we can perceive things differently. As things seem to change on the outside, people can change, situations can change, we have to change our mind accordingly. So we've been changing our mind, we've been seeing things differently, but with the sign of Taurus that's all to do with the heart centre. So we've been changing our mind about how we feel, what's valuable to us, and what supports and nourishes us. So we can dive into that energy with the strength of the trine this week, and we can really go and explore how we're thinking, how we're feeling. Are our thoughts or perceptions off somehow, making us feel off? Can we alter the way that we think and perceive in order to feel more aligned and centred? Venus is also in Taurus, which is her home sign, so this is a very creative and loving aspect. So self-love in doses there, showing us that when we change how we think, we can actually reconnect with ourselves and with our values and with our love, but especially our love for ourselves, our love for nature, and our love for the present moment. So a great deal of presence and creativity there with Venus in Taurus. We still have the opposition of Jupiter and Neptune, but Jupiter now direct, that's actually taking us into forward motion, so we can start to expand into our wholeness. We've had a look at where we've been deluding ourselves or hiding away in fantasy versus reality, or where we need to go into the realm of imagination to create from that place and to create a bigger a more appropriate reality. So there's been a playoff across the sky there between reality and fantasy, or limited thinking versus the power of the imagination, where we're creating from and where we can actually bring those two into alignment. So Jupiter will be direct until September, when it goes into Libra, so we're on the final stretch of the Jupiter in Virgo. Great deal of learning, because Virgo loves to see the small details but see the bigger picture that they're building to, and to be productive but do the right thing at the right time. So over the summer we have Jupiter direct in Virgo, which is a great time to learn to do little details every day to build towards something that's actually productive, something that's holistic, and something that is healthy and supportive. By the end of the week we're heading into the full moon in Sagittarius, and this is in conjunction with the Sun going into Gemini. So the Sun goes into Gemini, and immediately we have the full moon in Sagittarius opposite at 1 degree. The Sun in Gemini is an air sign opposite the full moon in Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. So we've got a story coming in now of air and fire. This is much more activated, much more catalytic. Air fans fire and makes it expand even more. So the Sun in Gemini will whip things up. It's a much quicker activated force and much more thoughts coming in. We've had a wonderful phase through most of May where there's been almost nothing in air signs, which has helped us calm the mind. But now we're getting back into right thought. So a big full moon coming in there, 1 degree Sagittarius, Gemini finding all the details, perceiving, going around exploring and investigating and instigating, and then the full moon in Sagittarius wanting to find the wisdom and the truth behind all of that detail. The Sabian symbol for this full moon for 1 degree Sagittarius is the ocean covered with white caps. So if we think of the white caps as the air of Gemini frothing the waves, activating the surface of the sea, and then the full moon in Sagittarius as the deep calm ocean, miles underneath the eternal wisdom and the power of that deep water. This is the first of 2 full moons in Sagittarius. We have one on the 22nd and one on the 20th of June, taking us into the summer solstice. And this is because we don't work with the correct calendar. We actually have a 13 moon calendar, and the zodiac and astrology is actually a calendar, and yet we're working to the 12-month solar calendar only. So we can actually have, once a year, we'll have 2 full moons or 2 new moons in the same sign. This is quite normal. So from the 22nd of May all the way through to the 20th of June, we're on a journey of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius loves broad horizons. It's all about expansion. It's all about travel and learning and whatever expands the mind. So we're beginning at 1 degree here, and by the end of the month we'll be at the end degrees. So we're going on a big journey between these 2 full moons in Sagittarius, having a look at our landscape, having a look at our vision of the world, where we're heading and what our story is. It's quite a complex full moon, this one, because we have the moon with Mars at 1 degree Sagittarius, and then across the skies we have the Sun and Venus together, even though Venus is at the last degrees of Taurus. So the Sun and Venus is the solar feminine energy, and the Moon and Mars is the lunar masculine energy. And we're taught to think in quite limited ways. We're taught to think of the kind of fiery masculine and the watery feminine, but now we have this swap across the chart. So we'll be looking at inner and outer, love versus passion, active versus receptive, and where those energies blend together, where we can find that inner harmony. We also have Saturn in the mix. Saturn is making a square to both Jupiter and Neptune. So we've spoken about the Jupiter-Neptune opposition, the reality, the fantasy, the limitation and the power of the imagination. But we have Saturn forming a necessary friction there. Saturn retrograde in Sagittarius, taking us back to the point, taking us to the core of things and helping us define and shoot our arrow directly to centre. So a great learning curve there with Saturn in Sagittarius, balancing out those 2 opposites of Jupiter and Neptune and helping us learn some vital lessons in the process. So all told, it's quite a harmonic week. There's not a lot of activity until the end of the week, when we're turning towards the Mercury direct and the Sun goes into Gemini and the pace quickens and the full moon comes in to act as a catalyst to this full moon Sagittarius month. But for the beginning of the week, just dive into that security, that self-love, that peace, that sanctuary. Take a look at your inner landscape, what you value, where you're actually coming from, because we will be going on a journey, but it's a journey of your making. Take a look at what you're learning from any frictions that come up, because this is passing but very, very necessary, and we're coming to the end of quite a difficult phase since March. So we have time to just rest and calibrate. Some people have been describing feeling tired or slow, but this is actually very necessary in a world where we're taught to always be pushing forwards and always be active and quick and bright. Sometimes it's okay just to stop. So the lovely earthly energies there telling us to stop, to look around, to be present, to go back to the heart, to go back to the centre, to take a look at what's come up, what we've been learning, and then by next week there'll be lots more forward energy and lots more mental activation. So those are the horoscopes for this week, and I'll see you next week. If you'd like to take part and journey with these energies, I have an online Facebook group where we're actually discussing what's coming up and how we can work with it in our personal charts. So it's a great way to learn astrology slowly, at your own pace and time, and in a warm-hearted group. If you'd like to arrange your one-to-one, then I'm very happy to meet you on Skype. We can have a look at your birth plan, your soul plan, your natal chart, and also what's happening around you and how you can work with those energies. And if you'd like to take advantage of all this learning that's coming up, this ability to take on new information, useful information, and get to the deeper wisdom, then I do have my online courses that you can study. So there's notes and there's a video and email access to me so that you can start to learn astrology for yourself and dive into that. And also on Saturday I have the second of my tree walks on Hampstead Heath, so it's a great time to engage with all of this earthly energy, all of this nature, all of our appreciation of the beauty of life. So do contact me if you'd like to come along. We do tree recognition, the myth, the magic and the healing properties of the trees to make our experience in nature more three-dimensional, more meaningful and more interactive. So for any of that, please do contact me, zoehines7@gmail.com.